I was able to like get out of that comfort zone where it was like, no, a specialty coffee could be made into this beautiful, like Cuban culture.
Sure.
They can mix together.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be bad coffee into Cuban coffee.
Welcome to the next episode of Pancom Podcast, a continuation of the edgy NPR show, Coffee Talk.
NPR Coffee.
The Coffee Club.
The Coffee Club.
Oh,
the Coffee Club.
The Coffee Club. Well, we're here today with coffee maven herself. Sandra, please say your last name because I don't want to butcher it. Say it.
Walimaki.
Oh, man.
Walimaki.
Walimaki. That is the most eccentric last name I've ever heard in my life. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
This is awesome because it's the first time we've gone from podcast to podcast.
And I'm excited because I finally made it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting
come on.
in front of you.
Oh,
Look at
man.
you. I made it, guys.
This podcast is really not that big of a deal, but thanks for saying that anyways.
I made it. It's a big deal.
Producer, what's up?
I'm Nick Jiménez, and we are joined by chef and chili cook-off champion Mike Beltran and his gold tooth cap, which is a big deal. There's a lot of firsts on this episode of Pancom Podcast. This is the first time he wears that thing on the podcast. Mike has gone off to refresh something.
So, gold tooth making coffee
That's
at
right.
the table.
That's right.
Wow.
So we've just come off of recording an interview that you were conducting. Now the tables have turned.
A little bit,
But an
yeah.
interview that you were doing for NPR's Coffee Club.
Yes.
Now we're going to do all the hard-hitting questions.
And now is when things get crazy around here.
It's going to get real out of control.
That's going to get really hot next to
I
that
guess
stove.
I guess we're done making coffee.
Yeah.
Sandra, why don't you just kind of fill the people in on who you are and what you do?
I
Because
already said who she is. She's the coffee maven of counterculture coffee.
But
in
you can get
Miami.
more specific about what that even means.
I don't even know. Like, that's on Mike's, way to describe who I am. Yeah, but, I am the regional educator for counterculture coffee here in South Florida.
Sorry, my bad.
You're so good.
Cigar smoke. I'm a savage.
I was like, at least make me coffee.
That's for the edgy part of the show.
Yeah. Now we get real edgy.
But I know, so I've been in Miami for 3.5 years now, and I met you, over a year, 2 years ago,
2
maybe?
years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow, time flies.
I know.
Wow.
Well, it took me 3 months to open Chug's, and then Chug's has been open already for 15 months. It's gone longer because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Like the birthday passed, I didn't even notice, and then we're supposed to stop. Anyways, it's been 18 months now since I met you, and I had met James before. But I remember when I was talking about the whole coffee thing, and you know who led me in your direction?
Who led you in
Mike
our
Ortiz.
direction? Of course.
Mike Ortiz
I
from
love that guy.
JoJo Tea.
Tea.
I had, Mike is one of my dear friends,
Mm-hmm.
and he's crazy, and I love him. And we were having a conversation one day about the concept, and I was talking to him about what I wanted to do and these things, and I was like, what if we just did regular coffee? Nothing fancy, no third wave stuff. And he was like, and I told him, I was like, what if I don't even carry your tea? It doesn't even matter. I don't even need to carry your tea. We just make it. Obviously, he got offended, but it wasn't that he got offended. He started to wax poetic about where things come from, why you do certain things, apart from it just tasting better, it being sustainable or organic or whatever it may be. There is a certain morality and better ethics in some coffee culture and some tea culture in comparison to others. And that's really what led me to your direction.
Mm-hmm.
I also, and because everyone asked me a million times, why wouldn't I carry Panther coffee? And I'm 100% honest about it. I love Panther coffee. I think that they're amazing. I think that they do great work. They're just across the street. And it wouldn't have made much sense for me to carry Panther coffee across from Panther coffee. So that's what led me to you guys. And then I think the biggest struggle always is when you tell someone, like what we just mentioned, hey, I'm going to do Cuban coffee, but I want to use your fancy coffee.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, but I can. but that's what's going to happen.
Totally.
Yeah, and so, and that was the birth of our friendship.
Yeah, friendship. I love it. Yeah, I remember like the idea, like brought to me by my colleague like James, and I was terrified. Like I said earlier, I was a little terrified because I was like, this is totally out of like, not my comfort zone, but again, like as coffee professionals, we're always like at a stock to sometimes our own way. We like our coffee certain way. We're also coffee educators, and a Cuban diner in a Cuban coffee menu. I was like, what? What do you mean?
No.
So, no.
No.
First of all, I did not say no. I was like, you know what? All right, I'm up for this challenge. Let's do this. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
And we're here, like drinking what we were drinking.
We were drinking Cuban coffee, yeah.
Some Cuban coffee, one like the famous espumita.
Yes.
From Chug's, and I loved it. I really like love the challenge. I really love like the fact that I was able to like get out of that comfort zone where it was like, no, a specialty coffee could be made into this beautiful, like Cuban culture.
Sure.
They can mix together.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be bad coffee into Cuban coffee.
Nick wants to say something.
Good coffee.
Oh, I was going to say, at the risk, it's going to feel like you're repeating yourself, but they're two different things. Let's talk about the espumita that you were referencing, because people who are listening to this might not have heard the whole thing.
Right, because they weren't on the edgier NPR counterculture show.
Which they should be.
They should.
The coffee club.
Coffee club.
Go join the coffee club, but also listen to this.
We're going to be talking about the same thing.
It's going to be over and over again.
This is great.
No, yeah,
This
just
vodka life.
We'll talk about this espuma.
The famous
cup.
espuma.
So Cuban coffee, when you brew Cuban coffee, and the way that like we all grow up drinking coffee is in the cafetera. As soon as the first little bit of coffee comes out, I mean, my grandparents they literally have like the not one of those, but it's probably about this big, and it's just like a metal cup, and that's how they've always made their coffee.
Yeah.
And they put 2 teaspoons of sugar in there. The first little bit of coffee comes out, and then they just start to whisk it, and then it makes this like frothy, like, it's like almost like a coffee sugar syrup, essentially. So at Chug's, we did a lot of research, and we came across that place that I was telling you before about Barbuca.
Yeah.
That they made large vats of that, and they had their own kind of like coffee to sugar ratio thing. So we came up with our own, and this is kind of what we have. So it's for several reasons.
Yeah.
1, for consistency.
Yeah.
2, for like restaurant ready. Like if you're trying to do a cafecito and you're trying to do it like 500 times, and you have to make that espuma every time, that's tough. So in the world of consistency, we came up with this, and it's like kind of taken on its whole new world. This is actually the final version of it, because before we used to just whisk it with a whisk, or we did it with a spoon to mimic kind of like that home coffee making.
Yeah.
But this one is a larger batch that I did in a KitchenAid.
Yeah.
So like I whisked it all together till it was like very frothy, and it was more like one thing than 2.
So good.
Yeah. So
good.
and I know this was very hard for coffee people to accept.
I accept it.
Good.
I'll take
I like
it.
that.
I drink it. I had one last week.
Good.
I just had one right now.
Yeah.
I'm all about this whole espumita situation. But I really love it,
Good.
I really love like mixing those two cultures, and like I think you made it right. You turned
that.
this coffee professional into
We did it. Nick,
You
we did
did
it. We did it.
What do we do? I missed it.
Don't worry about it. But we did it.
You turned me into like, okay, I drink my coffee with sugar.
But
and
and
it's
let's
delicious.
it's a bunch of firsts. Like today, you brought this coffee. What is this called?
So this is Idido from Yirgacheffe, like Ethiopia. So it's a co-op in Yirgacheffe. So Kana Culture has been like purchasing that coffee since I believe 2011.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a co-op that about are probably like over 1,000 like farmers.
Wow.
So. But to me, this coffee is like every time it comes out, it's a staple for a lot of us. It's like it is definitely in the the famous, what do they call it? The famous Hall of
The Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of
Hall
Fame.
of Fame.
God, I'm here to help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate. English is not the first language. If
all
you
good.
you should start speaking Sandra.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because then you totally will understand what I'm saying.
I'm with it. I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
everything that's happening
yeah,
thus far.
I love it.
If we ever
So
get to a
good.
point, we'll pause and we'll cut it out so I make sure I understand.
But every time it comes out, it's delicious. We look for it. We want it. We drink it. I was excited that it came out, again. It was released again,
Yeah.
like a few weeks ago. And that's what I've been drinking every day.
So talking about first, when we were talking, when you first got here, I was talking about like, yeah, like when I grind coffee for a cafetera, I grind it super fine. But I've always ground it super fine because that's how, like growing up, that's the coffee out of a bag. That's what I was used to. So I was like, you have to like really press it in there.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, let's not do that. Let's do it more coarse. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Let's just do it more coarse. Whatever. I mean, it's first for everyone. So that's the best coffee I've ever seen come out of a cafetera in my life.
You
Like,
made it. Isn't it great?
I didn't do anything.
You did it all.
I did nothing. It does all the work for you. You literally do nothing. You put coffee in the middle, water in the bottom, and you turn it on. Like, you do nothing here. And it was really all about the grind. It was like that it was
Yeah.
much more of a coarse grind. So literally when you see the coffee coming out of the cafetera, it's much, the clarity is incredible.
Yeah.
And I was saying, like, Cuban coffee, it's like always like muddy, and whatever. Like, I grew up loving it and I still love it, but that's what you get. So when I saw that not even 10 minutes ago, I was like, what the fuck? This is wild. And it's just like a simple thing, right? And it's just all about like continuing to learn.
Yeah, it goes back to like I would have not got to that discovery of like adjusting the grind size on the regular cafetera will make a big difference in flavor,
Right.
because obviously we're coffee educators and whatever, and we're always like thinking about like ratios and like temperatures and like water and all those different things, the grind size and whatever, right? Everything like goes into
Sure.
consideration. But in a cafetera, I can't control that.
Yeah.
You give me certain amount of coffee that I need to fit into this basket, certain amount of water that needs to be fit in the basket, and I'm like, I can't control the heat because water just needs to boil. So I'm like, okay, well, what's the only variable that I can kind of play around? And through my discoveries, after you pushed me to like learn how to make like Cuban coffee.
Welcome.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. You're welcome. Now you're drinking
Yeah.
great coffee too.
Perfect.
And it was like adjusting the grind size.
Amazing.
In that case, like we don't like scorching the coffees, like water has a little bit more like difficulty like extracting, but it's still extracting enough.
Sure.
And you still get some great flavors, of the coffee. So it was delicious.
Let's veer away from the present. Let's talk about the past. You've only been in Miami for 3.5 years?
3.5 years. Yeah.
Where are you from? Where were you? And how did you get here?
How do I get here?
Yeah.
Originally from Peru. So I was raised in the land of ceviche
Sorry. Okay. Dreadful. My bad. Yeah.
and lomos saltados.
Oh, so you're in the land of great
and
food.
the land of that. So I was born there. I was there until I was 19 after college, and then I end up in Seattle, Washington.
Makes sense now.
So,
Everything now makes sense.
but my coffee, or the passion that I had about coffee, or even just like the culture that was like impregnated in me, it started very young.
Oh,
you
really?
know? So Seattle didn't make sense at that time, which was great. I was so grateful to live in there. And then from Seattle, I ended up moving to New York.
Oh.
And then to...
What years are this? What years are you in Seattle? And what years
I
are you
was
in New
in
York?
Seattle like in 2004, 5. Yeah. And then I moved into New York 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I was there for like a little bit, and then moving to Connecticut.
Whoa.
So the backyard of New York City. So I was working in the city, kind of commuting from Stamford, Connecticut, like that area, to New York, and I was there until I moved to Miami, which I moved to Miami in the beginning of 2017.
Wow.
And what brought me here was counterculture coffee.
I love it.
Yeah. I followed them through everything.
When you were in Seattle, what were you doing? And
Coffee.
Then, coffee, but not
Yeah.
with counterculture.
Not with counterculture.
When did you start with counterculture?
In 2017.
Oh, okay.
March of 2017.
Oh, so
yeah.
that was the job, like you, this was new and it brought you
It
here.
was so new.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what were you doing with coffee in Seattle and then to New York?
Ooh. Yeah, so I started, I studied barista. So, like, I did some barista in Lima, where I'm from. That's kind of like when I was going to college.
What's the coffee culture like there?
Coffee grows, like, we drink coffee.
Right.
And some of the best coffee probably I have tried this past years, especially, are from Peru.
Oh,
so
really?
we drink coffee. Actually, my grandmother was a coffee farmer.
Amazing.
So I was always like close to coffee, if it was just like drinking, so whatever. But like when I went to college, I decided to have the side job. So I went into a coffee shop, like a local coffee shop in Lima, in Miraflores. And that's how I started. So I started working in there. I got into roasting, roasting looks like completely different, obviously, now than what I used to do there.
For sure.
I'm like, definitely that was not roasting.
Yeah.
But I call it like that.
Yeah.
And coffees came out roasted.
Yeah.
So, but there was no science or like all those different
Very
things.
scientific now.
Very scientific. Listen,
Bunch of people standing around a big machine that's making a lot of noise that are sipping little bits of coffee that I'm surprised how they aren't jumping off the walls.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a craft that I'm just like, nope.
Yeah.
I leave it to the experts,
Yeah.
But then from there, after college, I traveled a little bit and then moved to Seattle. That's kind of where I have family. And so the first thing that I did, I was like, okay, well, I need a job, right? What am I going to do? What do I know? Coffee. And obviously Seattle being like the heart of coffee culture, especially in those years too.
Those
So-
were like the honest years of it, I guess, right? The coffee culture in Seattle.
That
was
was yeah.
But wait, okay. So like Starbucks is like the evil empire of coffee.
We don't call it evil. Nobody's evil.
Nick is very against me using that term
Nobody's evil.
too. Okay. So what are they?
So we call it, so they're like, you mentioned that earlier, right? So
The
there's
big
like
three.
the first wave.
Yeah. The big three, right? Isn't it
And
like
there's the second wave.
right?
And there's the third wave. Obviously, like the way I always said it about like Starbucks is like, we are in this position right now because they opened. They
Sure.
introduced,
Agreed.
like this culture to America,
Yeah.
know? So thank you for that, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
So they're not evil. They're
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Sure. I don't know. There's Starbucks in every 3 blocks right now, so
It is crazy though.
yeah.
But anyway, so the third wave movement started, where this whole like, it started with kind of culture being one of those, and then in combination with intelligentsia and Stumptown coffee
Stumptown.
roaster. Yeah. So it was
I don't
kind
know if
of
I've ever had Stumptown coffee, to be honest. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't recall. Intelligentsia I've had several times. But,
yeah. So they're
in that first
I get
wave,
a little bit, of that.
remind me, it's like Starbucks, Folgers, and like Maxwell House.
No.
Isn't that like the 3 like big in the first wave?
Starbucks becomes like the second wave.
Oh yeah.
Because that semi-automatic machines start coming out, that's when we kind of change like barista culture more into like,
Right.
let's have this equipment.
Oh yeah, that's another story I want to get into.
I don't know that. I
No,
never
that-
worked for Starbucks.
No, there's an equipment story. I remember just
The equipment is story.
going back to when we were opening up Chugs, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this is the machine that we're gonna get because this is the only machine that I can
Yeah,
get.
for
and
sure.
then your colleague, which I love dearly, was like, no, but you can't use that machine. I'm like, this is the machine we're gonna use.
So-
we don't have any choice.
The way that so this is what it works, right? He came back and he was like, can you make good coffee there? I'm like, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's all about like for us, it's like not the hard no, but it's kind of like, let's make it work. You
Yeah.
know, let's make it work. If this equipment does, like I can execute like a good coffee, like same as what we're doing right now,
Right.
right? A cafetera can make great coffee.
Sure.
Most people don't consider that.
just made great coffee.
We just make great coffee.
We did.
So why not an espresso machine that maybe is not like the newest model, like
I don't even
or
remember
whatever.
I think it was because of the power that the machine had.
It was the power. Yeah.
was the power
yeah.
that the machine
It was
had.
the power.
But in true food and beverage spirit, we made it work.
we made it work.
We made it work.
Yes. And again, challenge number 2, that equipment was.
Yeah. That was a
I
challenge.
was like, here is what you have. Make it work. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Like,
I remember, too,
What?
when, because again, Chug's was a pop-up. I literally put it together in 75 days. And it was
So
like,
good.
so I brought in an electrician. I'm like, all right, I need this to be ready for a coffee machine. And they were like, no, we can't do it. I'm like, no, you're going to have to make it work. This is the only place that the coffee machine fits.
Yeah.
This is the only space.
Tiny.
This is the only space that it fits. So it was like trying to figure out how to even get power to that wall.
Yeah.
And then the week that we opened, then it kept on tripping everything else back there. It was just like such a, because then next to it, remember we had the orange juice machine?
Oh,
It's massive,
yes.
too.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, man, what a train wreck. But it's a pop-up. So it was like, we're just trying to make it fit. You know? It worked. It still works. It still trips.
Works.
It still trips.
It works. It makes
trips.
good coffee.
It does.
It makes great coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's kind of like, where were we? Like Starbucks, yeah. So, and then the third wave started, right, with those like 3 like roasteries, you know, like kind of just redefine what coffee culture was, like sourcing coffees that are actually like very high like quality, you know, like normally like a specialty coffee, right? When we talk about a specialty coffee, is like considered to be like 80 points and higher, right?
Okay.
So for this coffee to be considered a specialty, has to score
Right.
higher. So that's kind of the back of the story. But yeah, so and then I was in Seattle for like a little bit, moving to New York. I was working again for like a local coffee shop over there, and then moving to Connecticut. In Connecticut, I again work at a small coffee shop that they were just starting. It was the first one in that neighborhood that that were serving specialty coffee, and they actually were serving counterculture coffee.
Oh, yeah?
So that was kind of my go-to place.
Couple glasses of water. Yeah.
That was kind of my go-to place to just get coffee on the weekends when I didn't have to go into the city, right?
Right.
So I started getting to know like the baristas, you know, because again, like we're coffee people and we're also culture people. We like to go into places, we sit at the bar, we like to talk to the baristas, blah, 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 like build that community. And one day the owner was like, hey, like, where do you work? And I was like, I actually work at a Stumptown in New York. And they were like, oh, okay. So the conversation kept happening. And then later on, I was like, why am I still going to the city? I was
Right.
like, this place is great,
Yeah.
you know? So I ended up like working as a barista there too. And then later on, moving to management, opening few other locations for them. We got into like wholesale too, so into roasting at that time. But like roasting for me at that time was like, let's pack some coffee beans. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't like the real
what's
deal.
happening, and I'm gonna pack these.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I just got a packer. I
Yeah.
was the packer.
Right.
But it was but that was the place that that kind of introduced me more to the coffee community. You know, in New York too, in Connecticut as well. But that's when I got the first kind of like glimpse of what kind of culture was or is. So, and the rest is history. So I started being that creepy person that shows up every Friday morning at their
I love
tastings
that.
at 10. You know,
love
I was
that.
that person.
That's good.
And just sip some good coffee and make friends. And that was that.
Let me ask you, going from Peru to Seattle and then to New York and then to Connecticut, how did that culture shock feel? Was it severe, or was it like, did you like feel fine, or, you know, like what was the personal impact?
I think I was fine. Seattle was okay, you know, like because I had family at that time, so
Oh,
it just
cool.
made it slightly like easier.
How much
To
family?
just
A lot
move,
or just a little?
Just a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah?
I had like my godmother was there and my 2 cousins, and that was it.
Oh, cool.
And then New York was a little shocking, you
Yeah.
know, because the only thing I knew about New York City was like what I see in the movies,
Yeah.
you know. So that was the reality of that I had. And then when I was there, I'm like, okay, like, so this is it.
Right.
Connecticut was slightly the most shocking one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Just 'cause it
Fairfield,
was like-
Connecticut.
I've been I feel like I've been there because when I went to school in Virginia, I did some traveling around
Mm.
there, and I went up to Amherst and then through New York, so maybe I've been there. But I feel you, because I feel like the biggest shock for me personally was going from a place like Miami and then going to a place like Virginia. It was just like, Miami is like high impact all the time, and it's loud, and, you know, there's things happening every day, and then all of a sudden it's like I moved to Virginia and it was like things were closed on Sundays, and it was like just very different. And for me, that was tough it was tough for me for a while. Like the whole getting used to the quiet.
Yeah.
I remember it was my first training camp for football, and we were doing the run
Play
test.
football?
Yeah, I played football. That's why I went to Virginia. I went, played in high school and in college.
Talk about this.
Yeah. And so it was my freshman year, and we were doing our run test, right? And so I'm on the sideline, and everyone's on the sideline or whatever, and I'm waiting for my name to be called. And we'd already been there for like a week, and I hear a couple guys behind me. I knew nobody. I knew the guys who had helped recruit me, and I knew my coaches, but that was it. And I heard a couple guys like maybe 5 feet behind me, and they were like, one was like, man, I think I'm going to go home, man. I can't take it. It is so darn loud around here. And I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, excuse me, did you say it was loud? And he was like, yeah, it's always, there's noises everywhere. And I'm like, at night, I was scared to go outside. It was like you would go outside, it was pitch black. You would hear nothing, zero things. There's no cars on the street. It felt like a ghost town. There was like 5 stoplights in the whole city. And I'm like, this is not loud. I want louder. And, like loud to an extent, I feel like the noise of Miami has always helped me sleep. So when I moved, it was like, I would stay up at night. I'd be like, that's so quiet. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. I remember where we used to practice, the field that a training facility was at, there would be like deer that would like walk onto the field. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It was just like, that's the kind of culture shock I experienced, apart from the social aspect of it. The social aspect was on a different level of, there he is, Mike Castillo, everyone. There he is. Good to see you too, brother. And it was just like apart from the social aspect, it was just like the different environment. The food obviously was completely different.
Yeah.
The people were completely different. It took a while for me to kind of like adjust to that way.
Yeah.
To me, that was my culture shock feeling.
Yeah. To me, it was kind of similar. You know, like Connecticut's not quiet, in that sense, because like most people that like work in New York City live in Connecticut. A lot of people do, but it's a very wealthy, like county where I was
when
at.
I was in Virginia
so it was just different for me. Food obviously was also like a big shocking, but crazy or not, like I got to like meet some really great people there that made life like so much easier in there.
Sure.
So like the job was good. I had some great friends. My best friends are from there. That's when I met them. And so it made this culture shock a little bit easier.
Right.
And then talk about Miami then moving. No, I'm kidding. Miami's great.
That's a culture shock all in and of itself.
No, to be Miami, I was excited. It was funny because it's like when a friend of mine that works for kind of culture approached me, he was like, hey, I think they might open like a region. They're talking about like opening like a region in Miami. It's kind of in the works or whatever, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was like, Miami? I was like, I don't know. And it happened, and then he was like, yeah, they're opening. They're actually going to start like looking for people and I was like, I think you'll be great for the job. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's Miami. And then like the first thing that he said, he's like, come on, you moved from Seattle to Connecticut.
Yeah.
And you're scared of Miami? And I'm like, and you grew up in Peru. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then as soon as he said that, I was like, all right, I think I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
And Miami's great. I love it. I think it's like the closest I ever felt from home, from my culture, like really like embracing, like all this different like culture that we lived in. So it's amazing. I learned new things. Like cafeteras, I
different
learned espumita.
Yeah. It's a different ballgame.
So it's great. It's pastelitos, come on.
Oh man.
Oh.
It's crazy. Like I was so naive to think that when I left Miami, I was like, there's still gonna be pastelitos and croquetas everywhere. And what a lie that was. Man, it was just like, I think the food was like socially the shock for me was heavy, but the food was I missed our food so much.
So
I missed
good.
it. I missed the like ventanita culture.
Yeah.
I missed the people so much.
Yeah.
And I was in Virginia for 4 years.
Wow.
And I stayed all 4 years. And I learned a lot of great lessons there, like life lessons more than anything, because I was a dreadful student. But, learning to move to a different place, basically a different culture, like everything is different, and being able to hold your own and really learn to live on your own,
Yeah.
I think is like huge for your own development. So, you know, and my mom is like the regular like Hispanic mom. She's like, when are you going to come home? I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm going to be here 4 years. You know, like you just got to get used to that, you know?
Was she like packing you like some pastelitos and shipping you to Virginia?
They used to send me care packages too.
Because
Yeah.
my grandmother tried to smuggle some stuff
Oh, yeah?
from Peru.
Yeah.
And you're like, you can't do that.
Well, how was the food culture for you? Like when you moved to Seattle and New York, I mean, were you able to find that food that you felt comfortable with? Or
Yeah. I mean, Seattle, I love it. I love the seafood that we eat there. You know,
I've never
it's just
been.
amazing. Oh,
I've always wanted to go. I've never
Seattle's still one of my favorite cities. The weather
yeah.
is normally like what Miami has been for like the past 2-3 weeks, like
Yeah.
rainy all the time or whatever.
been. Hurricane every day.
Hurricane every day.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I love it. I love the
Cool.
culture there so much, and I love the food, the music, everything.
That's cool.
New York, obviously, everybody knows. Great. Connecticut was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Connecticut is, I think, getting into that like foodie scene, you
Is it?
know? Yeah. Yeah, there's some good spots up there.
I think what I learned from the the food from Virginia really impacted me a lot because it was just I learned to love it, you know. But it was a different.
What were you
again,
eating?
I mean, you know, you eat biscuits and gravy there, country fried steak, Brunswick stew, and I love that stuff. Man, it's like that real like stick to your ribs kind of food, and it was like very comforting. And you know, when you break through some of like the racial stigmas that happen like all through Virginia, because it's still like there's a lot of racism still there. At least there was when I was there, you know, and there was a lot of like I look very like white kid from suburbs, whatever, but as soon as I would open my mouth and people would talk to me like, "Nah, you're not from here."
Yeah.
And then, you know, they would learn that I'm from Miami, and then, you know, I was Cuban, and it was like, it's interesting. But once you break through that, and, you know, that their sense of community does run through their table a lot, you know, and it's like that biscuits in the morning with pancakes and bacon and apple butter. And I had a dear friend of mine that I used to go to his house on the weekends, and we would stay there on the weekends. It would be like 3 or 4 of us. And that town was smaller than where I went to college, but still, like, the food was amazing.
That's awesome.
That was the first time I had a real biscuit, you know, and like when I had real barbecue, because for me, in Miami, barbecue is just like you're gonna turn on the barbecue, you're gonna grill stuff.
Yeah.
Like over there, barbecue is like, you know, brisket,
real
you
deal.
know,
Yeah.
barbecue pork, like that whole thing. So it impacted me a lot. I learned a lot from that experience, and I still carry a lot of that with me today. It's pretty. It was a tough 4 years for me. But it was something that I learned a lot from, and I would never take it back.
Do you think I'm taking over your podcast now?
Go for it. Yeah, it's fine. It's a dual podcast.
The Lenya came out from like those experiences.
Maybe. I mean,
a little bit like inspire.
Maybe. I like. I always love to adopt the idea of like what connects you to your primordial past. Norman has a great quote that if I said it right now, I'd probably butcher it because I don't remember it. But you know, like that style of cooking connects you to your past, whatever your past may be. So it reminded me a lot of like, you know, my grandfather, the cajachina, you know, it's not wood, but you know, that whole like that environment, you know? And I think that's why I learned to love wood fire cooking so much. And that's why, you know, when we opened up Ariette, a big thing for me was like, I don't care about any fancy toys. We don't need any fancy toys. I need a saute station and I need a wood grill. I'll figure everything else out. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, we still don't have many fancy toys. But, you know, like using that wood fire cooking, it really like, there's something about it that really connects you to, whether it be your childhood or your past or something that you encountered that had an impact. I would say that it had a lot. That culture of like Brunswick stew, like there was this gas station that everyone would go to because it was like the only gas station in town.
Oh, wow.
And across from it every Saturday, this guy would sell like quart containers of Brunswick stew.
Ooh.
And I had no idea what Brunswick stew was. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this. And I got it, and it like changed my life. I don't know what was in it.
What is in it?
Yeah, I don't know like what he caught and put in that Brunswick stew, but man,
so
it was
good.
delicious. You know, and like those kind of things. You know, you see some here, but not as much as you saw there, for sure.
That's good.
So what else? Miami.
3
3
What
years.
about 3.5.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
How much do you think the food landscape in Miami has changed in 3.5 years?
I think a lot. I think like I seen it like growing so much. Like I think like the culture. I don't know if it's like we're getting it or like a lot of people are getting it. I think we as the consumers might be getting it.
Sure.
Like finally type of thing. But I remember when I moved, I mean, like, again, I lived in other places. Food is another thing that is my passion. I mean, I'm just going to support anything that is done with passion and craft and whatever. So food is one, I need to eat. And, but I think from the moment I moved, which I got a lot of disappointments from like a lot of places. I was disappointed by a lot.
Yeah.
But I didn't get Miami yet, so it really took some time for me to like really understand like Miami food scene.
Yeah.
But I think it's getting there. I mean, there's some great spots like opening up, like right now things are looking a little different. But I think it's getting a lot of attraction too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a lot of people's eye adding Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miami chefs, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I think we've all
Right?
grown to like a really great place. I feel like just get Todd. Yeah, get Todd. I think the interesting thing about Miami, and I think what infuriates me the most about my own city, is that we allow the smoke and mirrors to kind of take the forefront of our city, when there really is so much substance here, and there's so many people that care about crafts, and so many people that work very hard,
and so many ingredients that grow in this place.
That's a whole other subject.
Right?
Yeah, that's like a whole other thing. But it's like, and a lot of it is, I think, our own city's doing. When I say city, it's like the people who run kind of like how to promote the city, how they promote it to the country and to the world. They always talk about South Beach, and they talk about Ocean Drive, and they talk about this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not real Miami. That's not my Miami. And that's not the Miami I think people should talk about. And I think that's why when you got here, you probably were disappointed a good amount.
Well, back up to that, it's like I visited Miami 3 times before I moved.
Oh, yeah.
And my first 2 experiences weren't the greatest.
Yeah.
Because of the same things that you were mentioned. I was like, wait, no, this place is definitely not for me. So, but it happened on my 3rd visit when I started really exploring my the deep Miami. And I was like, I'm not gonna go to those places that most people tell me to go. I'm gonna go wherever a local is telling me to go.
Exactly.
And that's where to change it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. I mean, a lot of people, I think they fall victim to that.
Yeah.
Like the Ocean Drive move, and it's kind of like when you go to New Orleans and you go to Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
Bourbon Street is not New Orleans. That's what everyone tells you New Orleans is, but it's not. I mean, New Orleans is
so much
deeper than that. I think all the visits that I've ever been to New Orleans, I've only walked Bourbon Street once. And New Orleans is one of my favorite places to visit.
Same.
And it's because Bourbon Street is not that. It's not, and it's the same thing here. Ocean Drive is not Miami, The iguana walking on a roof. That's Miami.
So Miami.
That is very
We
Miami.
got a cafetera,
Yeah, we got an iguana.
We got an iguana on the roof.
Yeah.
We got everything
Nick
happening
is taking
today.
tables right now. Like, shit's getting out of control. Yeah, it's out of control.
Thursday.
I think we've seen a lot of growth. The last year has been tough. The last 8 months have been very trying for all of us.
Absolutely.
How have you dealt with the last 8 months?
Ooh, that was rough. I mean, I think it's been tough for everyone, I really want to meet somebody who says no, it's been great, right?
Jeff Bezos.
I was like, where are those? But I think it's hard. I think mainly for me was it took a big toll because I'm a people person. I need to be around people. I need to talk. I mean, my job is about people,
Sure.
I talk to them, I train them, I educate.
Yeah.
Talking.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. You and me both.
Yeah. So when this happened, I remember it happened the first 2 weeks, early, weeks of March, and when we start shutting down all our operations in every region, I was for me, it was like, okay, I can still do my job, but it's just going to be very different.
Yeah.
So what is that translated to? A lot of like Zoom calls. I didn't know what Zoom was until this year.
What is it now? What's it called?
Zoom?
Zoom. Oh, Zoom. We do a thing called the Zoom Room by Pancom Podcast. Yeah, the Zoom Room, brought to you by Pancom Podcast. Yeah, it's good.
Zoom.
We're looking for anyone to sponsor the Zoom Room if anyone's into
I'll
ads.
sponsor your Zoom.
There it is. Careful, Nick will be giving you a follow-up email. Here are the prices.
I love it. I love Nick. He's great.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Wow.
He'll do.
Wow. But so I can still do it, but it's just going to be very different. You know, it's a lot of FaceTime. I was like, FaceTime? What is that?
Yeah,
you know, like,
me too.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So weird. And so that was okay. You know, I started working from home, and that was like, I was going insane, you know, because home for me is the place where I go, chill, relax, shoots are off. It's a mess if I want it to be a mess, you know, like.
Amen.
I do that.
Yeah.
So working from home, it was rough. So the first 2 weeks, I was like, I don't even remember those 2 weeks. So then after that, I started figuring. I was like, you know what? Like we gotta change some things out here. So I started like working a little bit more for the training center. So we have like more like. James really doesn't go there, you know, so because mainly that's in the space where I probably get to work there the most.
Yeah.
So we made that clear, you know, he was going to be wherever he needed to be with his dog. And then I'll be at the training center half a day, and then he can take over the other half. So that kind of helped a little bit just to like break that like COVID routine of working from home. And then after that, it was just like a lot of catching up with people, you know, and kind of grateful for that because it kind of gave me that time to really go through. I was like, all right, well, who is next? Who am I calling next? Who am I bugging next?
How have you felt this has impacted the coffee community?
Oh, I mean, if it impacts us you as one of our partners, it impacts us,
For
you
sure.
know? So it definitely took like a big hit, but I think I wasn't even thinking about this until like few weeks ago, but one of the major impacts that we don't really consider is like if we are impacted as a coffee roastery, our partners, our producing partners are getting impacted.
Farms,
What does that mean? Would this mean that next year or by the end of this year, the amount of coffee that we'll be purchasing from them will be less?
Right.
You know, so there's this big question marks, right? And like, so that's like a big one, you know, it's a big one because our commitment is to support not only our wholesales, but it's also to support our producing partners. But if there's no like money coming in,
right,
how are we going to do this?
Well,
so definitely big.
I've seen it, you know, we see it and we're going to continue to see the impact every day. You know, like I've seen some incredible restaurants in the last 72 hours decide that they were going to close.
Yeah.
A lot of them on the West Coast. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And, you know, like just a perspective of like something like coffee, you know, you guys have been great because you guys have supported Chugs all through like all the shifts and the changes and like, you know, what are we gonna do? Or we're gonna sell this coffee?
I'm ready to move in. Like I already talked to guys. I was like, okay, what are we moving?
Yeah.
Where are we moving? What do I need to pack?
Yeah. So it was like I remember when the everything first happened and like we're like, oh, we're gonna turn Chugs into like a supermarket. And we did for I don't know 2 months or so. You know, we sold some coffee. We bagged
chicken. Oh, just kidding.
Which chicken?
You were selling chicken.
Oh, we were. That's right. We sold meats. We sold everything.
Come on.
We did. We
I will
sold
come
steaks.
on my Saturdays. You know, I got my pastelitos. Do some like drop off to some friends. Grab some groceries. It was great.
Right. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. But you know, the day that I saw it change is the day that I saw toilet paper in a regular supermarket, and I was like, all right, shit's different now. People started going back to the regular supermarket, started getting their toilet paper with all their other stuff, and I saw it change. But you know, we were selling counterculture by smaller bags because we were getting big bags, and people were buying it, and it was like same thing with JoJo tea. We were selling the boxes of JoJo tea as well, and really just doing whatever we can to continue like buying product, selling product,
Yeah.
trying to keep like the economy somewhat going for our people, like
Yeah.
coffee roasters and whatever it may be. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's been a crazy
It's
time.
been a crazy time. Like the same goes for us. Is like we always. I mean, we always gonna do right with our partners and try to do the best to support us. But like, it was hard not to be able to do a lot.
Yeah.
For this situation. So that was like for me that was heartbreaking. Like
Yeah.
especially and I was like, how? Like my hands are tied on this one. It's like. We're all just hoping for the best, but also trying to do our best, And I think one of the things that admire me the most during this season is like, just like how people really came through, like community and
Yes.
like people really supporting, like local businesses and things
Yep.
like that. And that was like, wow, like
It's
mind
amazing.
blowing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's in the hard times where people see,
True colors.
True colors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true colors. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a big. I think the way that this community has come together has been inspiring, and it's been like incredible from both people that are in the industry as well, people that just support the industry
Yeah.
from the outside. It's been incredible to see. I think when we do get through this, whenever that is, because we still have a ways to go, we're going to be stronger on the other
Yeah.
side for sure.
1,000%.
So-
yeah.
I think we started to do wind down stuff now, yeah? Yeah, we're going to wind it down. We're going to do all the things. Nick, this is where you take the show. And you start to wind all the things down.
You've been listening to Bang Kong Podcast. No, so we always wrap up the show with two things. The first one is our parting recommendation. So each person will recommend really anything at all. It could be a movie you saw, a book you read, a meal you had, whatever. And then after that, we'll do our shameless plugs where you promote all the counterculture, coffee club, whatever.
Wow.
So,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, we want people to go see your coffee club thing. So
I mean,
let's
they need
promote
to
the hell
come
out
to
of
see
that.
them.
Yeah.
So, exactly, yeah. But let's start with those parting
Come to
recommendations.
Oriet.
Yeah.
Mike, you got anything?
Nah, you guys take it first. You know me. I got to think about it.
All right, so I'm not sure whether I've ever recommended this before on the podcast, but I'm going to recommend that people, if you are a fight fan and you also like watching very strange things, I recommend a YouTube channel called Street Beefs.
I love it. Bonsai!
No, that's different. That's Crime Faces.
Oh, Crime Faces. You're right.
Street Beefs is the backyard fights in Virginia. So it's kind of like the Kimbo Slice stuff in Miami, but more like hillbilly type stuff. Although they've gotten to be kind of a big deal, and people will actually travel to Virginia to be in these fights. There's a guy in Miami, or from Miami, who has gone multiple times. I've told Mike that I will pay his airfare to Virginia if he agrees to go and box on Street Beefs and shouts out Pancon Podcast.
I like this idea.
I think this is where your boxing career should go, is to Street Beefs.
My boxing career is non-existent.
Well, until you're on Street Beefs.
I don't know.
No, it's non-existent. I spar 6 rounds and get my ass kicked every time. So I'm not-
Until you're on Street
I
Beefs.
see you. I see you in those IG stories.
You have to practice your Street Beefs intro, so it always starts with a quick shot of each fighter, and they say something very brief like, "Hey, yo, this is Chug. I'm here to do some work." That's all I got to say.
I like it.
Is that your fighter name? You actually gonna
Go with Chug.
You got to go. Well, something. You can do whatever you
like
want.
that?
Chugginator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Raging at Pumida.
Ooh. I mean, that's what I'll be recommending. A Chug is Pumita. Go.
Hey, what's up? This is the Raging at Pumida, representing
Oh,
305,
man.
Miami,
You're such
Florida.
a show.
Here to do some work.
You're the worst.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. So, Sandra, do you have any recommendations? Really could be anything at all.
Ooh, recommendations. I gotta think about this one too.
Yeah,
I mean, like
Think about it. I got one.
Okay.
that one.
Hit
Sure,
me.
sure.
We're into recommending movies that we've never watched.
Oh, I am. But if you want to get in on that,
I'm getting
all
in
about
on it. I saw a trailer for a movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot is a 2018 American adventure drama film, blah, 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 starring Sam Elliott, and it's literally about that.
That sounds like it's right up my alley.
I think, you want me to, I can't. It's just
That's
it's set in 1987. This guy killed Hitler, and then he's going after Bigfoot. It's like, it is exactly what it's supposed to be.
I mean, it seems that if you killed Hitler, I mean,
You should be able to kill Bigfoot.
right.
Right.
That's who we should be tapping
So
for that job.
I saw that trailer. I'm definitely going to watch that sometime soon. I
Excellent.
also recently just watched, again, Top Gun, and I still recommend that. And
Top
I
Gun's
just
great.
watched Jurassic Park again, the first one, and it is still fantastic.
Life finds a way.
You know, those are my recommendations. I also recommend Counterculture Coffee. It's wonderful coffee. I heard that they have a show on NPR called Coffee Talk.
Coffee Club.
Coffee Club.
NPR Coffee
Oh,
Club.
NPR Coffee Club. This is
many-
why I'm
how
really.
many- how many
it's
more
only
times
take-
we're too much
Listen,
coffee?
I've
You're
been doing
cut
this
off.
for 50
You're cut
episodes,
off.
and I still don't have it under wraps. So imagine. We only did one. It's like, gotta give me 49 episodes as a warm-up.
Yeah, definitely recommend the NPR Coffee Club subscription.
Yeah, the subscription is key.
Subscription, yeah.
Just like the Patreon, right? Don't we have a Patreon?
That's right. Patreon.com. Well, let's Sandra, do you have any recommendations? non
Movies, not
yeah,
coffee
yeah.
related. I mean, Christmas season, I know it's far away, but it also seems very close. But I actually just saw on Netflix that Elf is
Oh.
available to watch.
Oh, boom.
Never a bad time.
Elf
Game
on
changer.
Christmas time.
Game changer.
Not Christmas time. Great. I mean, I'm a big fan of Elf and like Christmas movies. So
I like it. I like your style.
Elf in August.
I'm all about it. I think
Right?
the whole year
Elf
we
in
should just
August?
watch Christmas movies because this year has sucked.
Why not?
Yeah.
And
I'm with
also,
you.
time is
not?
meaningless now.
That's true.
There you go.
I don't know. I think today's what? Tuesday?
Who knows?
I'm not sure. Is today Tuesday?
Actually, no, it's
think
Wednesday.
it's
Is it
Wednesday.
Wednesday? Look at that.
I
That's
think it
what
might
I mean.
be Wednesday. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and now we'll move on to our shameless plugs. We'll let you go
Shameless
first.
plugs.
So, all the Counterculture Coffee Club, tell everybody where they can find all the stuff and
Ooh.
plug away.
Yeah, plug away.
Yeah.
No way. All right. So, obviously, I'm grateful that you showed me how to make cafecito with espumita.
I love that.
But a few months ago, Counterculture Coffee teamed up with NPR, and they actually came out with this thing called the NPR Coffee Club. It's a coffee subscription, and it's amazing. So why don't you check it out? We're coming out actually with some great content, NPR Counterculture type of thing. But it's going to be really great. So we're very excited about that. And you will be in it.
I'm going to be in that.
That's
You're
right.
going to be in it.
I'm gonna be in
Your
that.
face is going to be in one of those stories.
Perfect.
It's great.
I love it.
Oh,
All
it's
about
gonna
it.
be great.
Mike, shameless plugs.
Yeah, all the things. Pig Inc., area at Miami, Chug's Diner. We're going to be open tentatively for another 4 weeks. I want to talk about, so we're open still, right? Because Nick tried to call me out and said that I was conning everyone, which I was not conning anybody. We ran into an issue that our building had with the city that they have not rectified yet, and that is stopping us starting our construction. So I had two choices, which is either to just close and not start construction or just stay open and wait till they're done so we can start our construction. That was really what it came down to. It has been amazing to see the amount of love that people have for that
Yeah.
place. That little window, 450
The best.
square feet space that materialized out of nowhere, and that's been very cool.
Is there a date in case people hear this?
We don't have a date
Okay.
yet.
Roughly
We're-
3 to 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, 3 to 4 weeks may end up being 5. I
Okay.
was on a long phone call today that I got nothing accomplished trying to figure that out.
Cool.
So
Oh, 3 or 4 weeks of more pastelitos,
more
and
pastelitos.
croquetas.
But
and
just so everyone is aware, after we close, we are going to do a pop-up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out of Taurus
Love it.
in the morning from 7 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the
Is
afternoon.
the spumita going to be there?
Of course.
Great.
Of course. The
That's all
Espumita
that-
travels well.
Good stuff.
It does. Nick, plug all the things.
And now all of our things you can find Bang Gong Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. That's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and other things that I haven't even heard of. Spotify. We're also on Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
We're
Even
on
though Joe
all-
Rogan took all our Spotify money.
Joe
it's
Rogan
fine.
took our Spotify money. We're coming for you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and call him out for you. Joe Rogan, go meet Chug in Virginia for street beefs.
Whenever.
And finally, you can follow us on all the social media things at
good.
Bang Gong Podcast, and support what we're doing at patreon.com/DadeMag. That's one way. Another way to support what we're doing, and actually, it really just helps us cover the cost. If you would like a Bang Gong Podcast magnet
Magnets.
For
we have
one-
magnets now.
Oh.
$1.
Yeah.
Datemag.com/shop. You can get
Oh.
magnets
$1.
for $1.
Nick is really selling himself short. I don't know.
No,
These
listen.
prices
I just
are-
want the people to have a magnet, and I want it to, let's just cover the cost.
Right.
Magnet
A
for you.
pin, a magnet.
Listen, you
Right.
can put it on your refrigerator.
Love
You can
it.
put it on computers you want to not work anymore.
Right.
All sorts of applications, but magnets, and we will have other merch coming soon, hopefully, maybe. But yeah, do all that stuff. So with that, that's it. That's it.
Great.
We're done.
That's it. We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank
this
you
has been
so much.
fantastic. After
I said I made it.
get out of here.
I'm cool now.
You know,
Great.
it's amazing how you had to you told 3 other people to text me. So
Because get people to keep you accountable, right?
wasn't
That's
that?
how it
It
goes.
wasn't that. It was. There's a lot of things going on.
I know, but still
look,
need people to keep you
We
accountable.
turned it out in 3 days.
Great.
I know. Yeah.
Boom.
Brilliant. Boom. Kind of like Chug's style. So 475 days.